Before I buy anything, no matter the price or how well it's designed, I run it through the same 5 rules. I don't use them to restrict myself or to feel disciplined. I use them to protect my time, my space, and my attention. Because buying the wrong thing always ends up costing more than money. And if you're someone who values living with fewer replacements and fewer interruptions, this video is an invitation to slow down and think about intentionality together. Most purchases don't fail because the item itself is bad. They fail because the decision was rushed, made in the moment when something felt exciting, convincing, or emotionally charged. Rules slow me down. They create space between desire and action. They remove emotion from the decision, especially when something feels new or aspirational and easy to justify in the moment. I don't use these rules to buy less as a goal in itself. I use them to buy with clarity, so each decision feels deliberate rather than reactive. When a purchase is made with intention, it doesn't linger in your mind afterward. That piece is worth far more than the object itself. It's time not spent reconsidering the decision, energy not wasted on regret, and the quiet confidence of knowing something belongs in your life. That kind of durability is what I value most. The first question I ask is simple. Does this solve a real problem I already have, or does it introduce a new one? Most of the time, this is practical. When I upgraded to the iPhone 17, it wasn't because it was new or exciting. My iPhone 13 had ongoing battery overheating issues, even after a replacement, and the storage was no longer sufficient. I was constantly deleting photos just to make room. That friction showed up every day, and the upgrade removed it. The purchase solved a clear existing problem. But a real problem doesn't always have to be purely functional. I place a lot of value on how my environment feels. Visual noise, imbalance, or a space that feels unresolved can be a form of friction too. When I added the floor-to-ceiling bookcase in my living room, it wasn't because I desperately needed more storage. It was because that corner felt incomplete. The bookcase brought structure, calm, and intention to the space, and the impact went far beyond utility. The difference is honesty. I'm not buying for a future lifestyle or an imagined version of myself. I'm responding to something I already live with, whether that's daily inconvenience or the way a space affects how I feel in it. The best purchases integrate quietly into the life you already have. They don't ask you to change who you are. They support the way you already live, work, and move through your day. This rule isn't about pretending that recognition doesn't feel good. Everyone enjoys a thoughtful compliment, whether it's about an outfit or a space you've put care into. That's human. The question is whether visibility is the only reason for the purchase. Sometimes branded items or recognizable designs are labeled as performative, and in some cases that can be true, but not always. If a brand's aesthetic, values, or history genuinely align with who you are, you'll choose it regardless of how others respond. And that's the distinction. If no one sees it, you don't care. If people see it and judge it, you don't care either. For example, the Keepall 60 I bought secondhand in Tokyo is covered in logos. Do I care if others see it? Not at all. It's a bag I use specifically for road trips. It lives in the trunk, easy to dig into, with a huge capacity and no rigid structure to manage. No airport crowds, no hotel staff handling it. There's no performance involved. I chose it because it works beautifully for that purpose and because I appreciate it as a classic travel bag with real heritage. Another example is the Eames aluminum group chair in my office. No one ever sees it except me and my family. I'm only sharing it now because it perfectly illustrates this rule. I wanted that chair in that specific style and colorway because it's a defining mid-century icon. It's timeless, well-engineered, and something I can use for a lifetime. Every time I sit in it, I feel like I'm interacting with a piece of design history. That appreciation is the reason I wanted it, not how it might look to anyone else. When the purchase is grounded in personal alignment rather than external validation, it lasts. And when you choose something, even if it existed entirely out of sight, that's usually a sign it belongs. Not every object needs to simplify your life to be justified. Many things can simply exist without asking much from you. The problem starts when something quietly adds friction over time. I ask myself whether a purchase gives me time back or takes more of it, more steps, more decisions, more things to manage separately. The best purchases reduce the number of moving parts in your day. They don't demand attention. They don't create follow-up tasks. They allow your routines to run without interruption. A good example is the storage platform bed I chose, all in walnut, with integrated nightstands and an extended headboard. Everything is grouped into a single cohesive system. My bedding lives in the built-in drawers, so there's no need for extra storage elsewhere. I never had to search for separate nightstands that might or might not align visually or proportionally. Nothing feels pieced together. That simplicity shows up every day. Fewer decisions, fewer objects competing for space. Cleaning is easier. The room feels calmer. It fulfills an aesthetic intention while quietly improving how the space functions. That's what I look for. Not complexity disguised as features, but thoughtful design that removes steps instead of adding them. When something reduces friction in both form and function, it earns its place without asking for anything in return. Instead of asking myself to name a specific number of situations, I think in terms of range. Does this belong naturally to my routine, or does it only show up in very specific circumstances? Many things don't need to be justified at all. If something is part of your everyday life, items you carry daily, clothes that rotate easily, or even luggage you reach for every time you travel, you don't need to force scenarios. Their usefulness is already proven through repetition. Most of the time, this rule comes down to versatility. If something works effortlessly with the rest of what you own, it tends to get used again and again. On the other hand, if an item is so specific or unique that it doesn't integrate with anything else, it usually ends up sitting unused, no matter how much you liked it at first. There's also another category that's worth acknowledging. Some items aren't used constantly, but they cover a real part of your life that happens consistently enough to justify owning one well-made version for the long term. This is highly dependent on lifestyle. If you ski every year, investing in proper equipment and clothing makes sense. If you don't, like me, renting when needed is often the more intentional choice than committing to something that will eventually collect dust. And sometimes this rule works in the opposite direction. If you can only think of one or two situations where you'd realistically use something, that's usually a cue to pause. Often, there's already something you own that can fulfill the same need or be repurposed without introducing another object into your space. Things earn their place through use, not intention. When an item fits into multiple real moments in your life or supports a category that genuinely belongs to you, it stops feeling like a purchase and starts feeling like a natural extension of how you live. This rule isn't about fear of change or growth. It's about self-awareness. When you're intentional with how you live, you're already protecting your identity. You're deciding what belongs in your life and what doesn't. Most purchases aren't about becoming someone new. They're about testing whether something aligns with who you already are. The problem is that buying something to feel a certain identity rarely lasts. It works for a moment, much like trends do, but without a deeper connection, the object never fully integrates. Over time, it starts to feel out of place. That doesn't mean we never make mistakes. I've made them too. Years ago, I bought a leather biker jacket because I thought that style represented something about me. It felt bold, confident, having it made that identity feel more tangible. But in reality, I wasn't into motorcycles, and I wasn't connected to that culture or music. That gap mattered more than I realized at the time. The jacket wasn't wrong, it just wasn't honest, and that disconnection showed up quietly. I stopped reaching for it, and I haven't worn it in years. Objects don't define who you are. They reflect what already resonates with you. When a purchase aligns with your values and your real interests, it stays relevant. When it doesn't, no amount of quality or design can make it feel like it belongs. This rule isn't about avoiding identity, it's about clarifying it. These rules don't stop me from buying. They help me buy with clarity. They reduce hesitation, second-guessing, and the quiet friction that comes from bringing the wrong things into your life. Over time, I've learned that intentionality isn't about having less. It's about living with fewer interruptions, fewer objects asking for attention, justification, or maintenance. When something earns its place, it supports your routines, your environment, and your values without demanding anything back. The real benefit isn't the object itself, it's the time you get back, the mental space you protect, and the confidence that comes from knowing the things around you are there for a reason. When the purchase passes all 5 rules, it doesn't linger in your mind afterward. It settles into your life naturally. And that quiet certainty is what makes intentional living sustainable. If you're starting to recognize the value of intentionality and you want to keep practicing it in your own way, you're welcome to subscribe and continue this conversation with me here. As always, live with intention.